I'm Spencer Mazyck, and joining me now is Alex Patterson. He is a lawyer turned chief creative officer for Tough Mudder, a 12-mile obstacle course competition. Welcome, Alex. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Spencer.
So tell us a little bit more about Tough Mudder. I just described it as a 12-mile obstacle course competition, but it's much more than that, isn't it?
It is. It's a 12-mile obstacle course competition with 25 obstacles designed by British Special Forces to test participants in every way.
What are some of the obstacles?
You got jumping into a dumpster full of ice water that we call the Arctic enema. We have going over 10-foot walls called Berlin walls, crawling on your belly underneath barbed wire, running through a gauntlet of flames. It's
flames. Wow, that sounds dangerous but fun.
Well, it's absolutely. It's as long as you stay in the middle, you'll be fine. And then right before the finish line, where you get your beer and your orange headband and get to call yourself a Tough Mudder, there's 10,000 volts of live dangling electric wires. And it's just a test of overcoming fears. You just run through, try not to get hit in the face.
Is that safe, though?
Well, yeah, we tell people that if they have a history of heart trouble, and we're not talking, the Betty Sue dump me kind, we're talking cardiovascular kind, don't go through the electric shocks. But besides for that, it's pretty safe.
Well, so how is Tough Mudder different from other races out there like Warrior Dash and Spartan Race?
Sure. So first off, it's not a race. It's a challenge. It's just, if you told someone, I climbed a mountain over the weekend, would they say, oh, how long did it take you? No, it's, wow, you got to the top and you got back down. And that's what Tough Mudder is. It's a challenge that really stresses teamwork and camaraderie and overcoming this sort of challenge course put out before you with your teammates. So whereas some of the other events out there, you're on the clock, you're trying to get first place in your age group. That's not important at Tough Mudder. At Tough Mudder, the ethos is leave no mudder behind.
Oh, wow. So it's about teamwork. Teamwork is what separates us from the other races.
That's right. And some of the obstacles are so big and badass that you just can't do it alone. We have a greased quarter pipe that's about 20 feet tall, and you literally have to run at it until it gets vertical and grab someone's hands who are above you, and they and your other teammates will pull you over the wall. Ah. So in some sense, everyone out there on the course during a day, they all become one big team, and it's them against the course.
So Alex, you've been quoted as saying that experience is the new luxury good.
Yes.
So how much does this experience cost?
This experience costs between $90 and $200 depending on when you sign up. So early birds get a discount and late goers pay a little bit more.
That's not so bad for a luxury good item.
Yeah, well, some people look at it and say, wait a second, you're getting shocked by electricity, jumping in a dumpster full of ice water, running through flames, and you're paying for this? But then, hey, the other 5%, I'd say, of the population look at that and go, yeah, I want to do that. And that's what we say. It's as if you have a switch in your mind. You see Tough Mudder, you've been sitting at your desk, maybe you're a trader, you're there, getting your lunch delivered to you at your desk. You're active in your mind, but your body necessarily isn't, and you see Tough Mudder and you say, oh, I want to be an animal again. I want to, experience fear. I want to experience obstacles that are not delivering the Q3 report to my boss. It's literally getting over a 10-foot wall. And that's the type of thing that Tough Mudder does. It's that, getting back to nature, and as we said, experience is the new luxury good. People want to do things that on Monday morning they can talk about and then they can remember.
You get the bragging rights, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so now that we know a little bit more about Tough Mudder, tell us, how did you make the transition from being a tax attorney at Davis Polk to Tough Mudder?
How does a blindfolded man in a room, find the door out? It's sort of like a little bit like this, Yeah. So I was working at Davis Polk, an incredible firm here in Midtown, in their tax department, which did have a lot of creativity to it. I tell people, yeah, absolutely. To be a tax lawyer, you have to be really imaginative. But the market tanked. There wasn't as much work for us, and at that point, it was sort of, is this what I want to do for the next 20 or 25 years? It was a wonderful place to be, but I just got this sort of gut sense that my personality and what I wanted to do in my life was not necessarily be a tax lawyer, and so.
Well, so were you looking for anything other than law whenever you left the firm, or was your search a little more defined?
So when I left the firm, I was looking. I sort of took a book. I think it's called Find Your Parachute or something like that. Anyway, I sort of listed out my interests, and I said, what am I good at, and what do I just naturally like to do? And I sort of wrote it out on a piece of paper, and then began to pursue opportunities that, no matter what I was going to be getting paid, I just knew that if I went to work every day doing that, I would like it. So, I have an interest in political science and public policy. So I was applying to jobs in D.C. that was Freedom House, house and things like that. And so it really was a gamut. I was very interested in intelligent transportation systems and sort of self-driving cars and a future without traffic fatalities, so I applied to organizations like that. And being a tax lawyer with a sort of narrow defined scope of legal expertise, it was a little bit difficult, I think, to probably run the gauntlet of the HR departments at these companies.
Well, so how did you find Tough Mudder, though?
So it's funny, I came to Tough Mudder like most participants come to Tough Mudder, which is through word of mouth. It's just a buzzworthy event that people like to talk about. I had a friend who I used to lifeguard with. I'd grown up lifeguarding on the beach in Long Island for 8 to 10 years. And a buddy who I'd lifeguarded with was actually a lawyer out in California doing securities law. He saw a New York Times article on Tough Mudder. It was our first really big piece of press. And he forwarded it to me and he said, hey, these guys are doing this obstacle course thing. Now, I had gone out to California and run a mud run east of the hills in San Diego with him. So I just instantly was like, oh, I'm a late 20s guy, corporate lawyer, want to do something. I'd already flown cross country to do something similar, and here it was with obstacles. So I called up the founder, Will Dean. I said, hey, Will, you're running people through fire, electric shocks, under barbed wire. Need a lawyer?
What? They did not have one at that time?
They didn't have a lawyer at the time. They had an outside counsel relationship, but no in-house lawyer. So, for me, I looked at that as an opportunity to practice law across an entire range of the spectrum: contracts, insurance, employee issues. At the
Obviously,
time, there were
liability issues, I imagine.
Liability issues for sure.
And they were that was during their early stages, so they were an early stage company
early
at the
stage.
time.
Yeah, I think I was the third employee or so. And being a lawyer out of such a small company is like being one defensive lineman protecting the quarterback against sort of all comers, which was a fantastic experience. The company now, over the past 2.5 years, has grown from 2 or 3 employees to now we have over 100.
Wow,
so as the company grew, my role began to change.
Yes, because now you're the Chief Creative Officer. Tell us, what is that? What do you do in that role?
So right now what I do is I oversee event innovation, which primarily consists of developing new obstacles and challenges for the participants. But in a sense, sort of being a head of product.
That sounds like a nice role. I like that.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I joke that whereas when I was a tax lawyer, the IRS was putting up the obstacles. Well, now it's me. So it's an incredible position. I'm really fortunate to have it. What I think about people may want to do next year, over 1 million people are going to do. So, just to think that the things that I can come up with creatively, people are going to be, over 1 million people are going to be experiencing is really gratifying.
And so you made the conscious decision then to go from in-house to this position. Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, I think it was just a sense of where my skills were best fit and what would be the best value addition to the company. So I joined, to be the in-house counsel, but I began right away to wear a number of hats. And anyone who has the opportunity in a legal capacity to join a startup and is interested in business, I would definitely recommend it. So I ended up right away doing partnership sales. So trying to outreach to Cliff Bar and Under Armour and Dos Equis now, all of which are our partners. And then through that, I got involved in marketing. I mean, when you're making PowerPoint presentations to try to get a sponsor, you're choosing photos and how to describe the brand. I'm on the phone right there next to the CEO. And little by little, he started to say, hey, Alex, why don't you take a look at the website and revise the creative on there, revise the photos. I then began to look at our Facebook targeting. Facebook advertising has been great for us, and the digital marketing world is constantly changing. So, thankfully, it wasn't where I needed 20 years of experience to be able to become a marketer. 6 months, things change in digital advertising. So looking at how our ads were targeted and what messaging they were saying and doing A/B testing of them, it was really applied intelligence and creativity. So through that, I became the Chief Marketing Officer. So in 2011, I was the company's Chief Marketing Officer and grew a marketing department that included then PR and sponsorships, customer service, etc., which I've now passed on to a really great guy who's extremely capable, moving on to sort of my next iteration at the company, which is to continually develop our product.
Well, do you use your legal background and law degree in any of your responsibilities today?
Absolutely. It comes up all the time. I'll give an example. We were going to have a celebrity on site at our recent event in Seattle, and at the last moment, a question popped up as to whether he was going to sign our liability release. However, our liability release requires someone to sign away their rights in case we capture them in our event video. Now, this is a slightly different situation of a celebrity wanting to control their rights of personality.
To be private, exactly.
To be private. And he didn't want to sign this and then be on Tough Tough Mudder's marketing for the next 3 years without us being in a contractual relationship with him.
Right.
So I ended up having to sort of on the back of the fly write a new waiver that he could sign.
Wow.
And that's just sort of one of the multitudes of issues that just come up every day when you're working in a fast-growing company.
So what have you learned on your journey from law to Tough Mudder?
Definitely look at your interests because that's likely where your greatest skills will lie, and then begin to move your career in that direction. I'm extremely fortunate enough to have an incredible CEO, Will Dean, at Tough Mudder, who is really good at judging talent and knowing what people are good at and then beginning to utilize them that way. And I think that's one reason why he and his co-founder, Guy Livingstone, have done a great job building Tough Mudder, because they've built it with people doing what is that person's best, sort of their best capabilities. So definitely, follow your interests, and that's likely where you'll be best at.
And so is Tough Mudder going to be it for you for the next however many years, or will there be a next chapter for Alex Patterson?
I'm looking to stay at Tough Mudder for a very long time. Our brand is incredible and growing extremely strong. I think Tough Mudder will be something like a household name like an Under Armour or a Nike. Tough Mudder is an obstacle course event, and I describe it's not a race, it's a challenge. It's much bigger than just the event, though. It's about people overcoming obstacles, which I think is a message that society needs today. I'll give you an example. At the most recent event, there was a guy I took a photo of him. He's a big guy, strong guy, with a shirt that said, "F cancer, I love my mom." So I went up to him and I said, what's the story? He said, "My mom has lung cancer and she's got a diagnosis here of about a week to live, and I'm out here to support her." And I just, brought tears to my eyes, and we posted it on our website and Facebook, and thousands of people are writing to this guy messages of support. So it's a lot more than just jumping over an obstacle. People use Tough Mudder as something that's much larger to tap into this idea of overcoming obstacles.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think Tough Mudder as a brand has an enormous runway to go, and I'm very much looking forward to being a part of it.
Well, you may see me there sometime soon.
Yes, I was going to ask you.
I won't make any promises as to when, but I may be there. But thank you very much for joining us today, Alex. We
You're
really
welcome,
appreciate
Spencer.
it.
Thanks.
For more information on this or other topics, subscribe to BloombergLaw.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for joining us. Bye, everybody.